Hi, I'm Dr. Sandy Chuan from the San Diego Fertility Center, and today I'm going to be doing an injection instruction video for you to teach you how to use the medications for your upcoming egg donation cycle. First of all, thank you so much for becoming an egg donor and helping our intended parents build their families. It is such a gift and we really appreciate it. We know that thinking about doing injections for yourself can be a daunting thought, and we understand how nerve-wracking that can be. So hopefully this video will teach you some important tips and information that will make you feel more comfortable and more confident about giving yourself injections. However, if you wish, your family members or friends can also watch this video to learn how to give you the injections until you feel more comfortable. Most of our patients, after doing the injections for a few nights or a few days, will feel very comfortable with the shots. But we understand that at first this may seem overwhelming. If you ever feel confused, even watching this, or have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to us, and our team will be here to help you walk through anything that you need. Secondarily, I want to give you another tool, which is the Freedom MedTeach website. We will include a link below so that you can find this website easily. Freedom MedTeach is a website that teaches people how to do injections, and it includes medications that are commonly used in the fertility treatment process. So you will be able to find a video for every single medication that you've been prescribed. If you feel that you need to watch a different video or get a different kind of perspective, you certainly can look up the medication and the associated video and take a look just to learn more about it. But hopefully this video will give you a comprehensive view of what to expect in your upcoming cycle and the type of medications you'll be using. First of all, before you start, please look up the treatment calendar that was sent to you by your cycle coordinator. On the treatment calendar, you will find important information about when you should be expected to start your injections, as well as when your first visit to the clinic should be. In addition, you will find the list of the medications that you will be starting, as well as your dose. And I will be going over each of those medications in detail and giving you some more information about how to store them, how to use them, and when you might be expected to use them. So let's get started. When you are doing an egg donation cycle at the San Diego Fertility Center, you will be prescribed 4 main categories of medications, and I'm going to go over each of them here first. So first of all, you will be prescribed a medication called Menopur, and it usually comes in a green box like this, but the actual medication itself will be in vial form, and so I'll show you that in a little bit more detail later. The second medication that you will be taking is called Gonal-F, and you'll usually be getting the multi-dose 450 IU box prescribed to you. And I'll go over that in a little bit more detail as well. Usually you'll be starting the Gonal-F and the Menopur first, and then mid-cycle you'll be instructed to start this medication called Cetrotide. Okay, and so you may not be dispensed this initially, but at some point during the cycle you will be instructed to take it, and the pharmacy at the clinic will be dispensing it to you. And then the last medication that you'll be using is what we call the trigger shot. And so these medications will be also dispensed to you by the clinic right before you need it. And these injections will help mature the eggs and prepare for the egg retrieval. And so it's a very important injection. I'll go over that in a little bit more detail as well. In terms of how to store these medications when you get them. When you first receive your meds, you will be getting just probably the Gonal-F and the Menopur. Please, please, please remember to keep them in a cool, dark place. You don't have to refrigerate them at that time, but you don't want to leave it in direct sunlight. Definitely do not leave it in your vehicle or in your car, because when it gets hot and warm in sunlight, then the medication will no longer work. So you may end up doing injections, but then they won't be doing what we need them to do, which is to help your follicles grow and help the eggs mature. So it's very important to remember to keep them in a cool, dark place. With the Menopur, usually it's single use. So, once you use the vial, it will be done. And so there's no need to obviously keep them any other way. But for the Gono-F, please remember that usually the one box that you need, the one vial that you mix up, will contain multiple days of medication dosage. And so once you open it and mix it, the medication is good for 28 days and can be good for use for a long time, but only if you leave it in the refrigerator. So once you have mixed the Gono-F, then you will want to keep it in the refrigerator so that you can use it until it's gone, okay? Cetrotide, this is a medication that needs to be refrigerated, as well as your trigger shots, okay? Both of these need to be refrigerated. So as soon as you get it, you're not gonna be using it right away. You're gonna go ahead and keep it in the refrigerator. It may be that when you come for your visit to the clinic on a certain day, we may feel that you need to take it that morning because this is a morning dose medication. So you may inject your first dose and they'll give you a few to go home with. Please keep it in the refrigerator. Now, of course, if you needed to take it, and let's say you're going to work at 8 in the morning and you're taking this medication usually around 10 a.m., you certainly could take it and put it in your purse just for a few hours in room temperature. It will be safe, but you definitely don't want to extend that to be a too long of a period of time in case it doesn't work. This medication is very important because it keeps you from ovulating prematurely before we're ready to go for the egg retrieval. We definitely don't want you to ovulate prematurely because that means that all the hard work you did will go to waste, and we don't want that to happen, okay? So those are the 4 medications that you will be using throughout the cycle and how to store them. So now let's go over how to mix your medications. We will start with Menopur and Gono-F, which are the medications you'll be starting with first, okay? So basically before you start your injections and mixing them, I always tell my patients to get everything ready. So you'll wanna make sure that you have your sharps container close by so you can dispose of any needles. You wanna make sure that you have alcohol swabs. You also want to make sure that you have any of the syringes and needles that the clinic or the pharmacy gave you, so that you can have them ready there and available to use, okay? So let's go ahead and start with the Menopur. So Menopur again comes in this green box, and of course this box is open, but you want to make sure yours is sealed, and the most importantly is you want to make sure the vials are sealed. So typically you're gonna get Menopur, which is the medication itself, is in powder form in these little vials with a peach top, and then you're gonna get saline, which is the salt water that you will use to mix up the powder, okay? And sometimes you're gonna get a full box, and sometimes you might get these in loose form, because if you only need 1 or 2, then you're not gonna get the full box, but you'll wanna make sure you know that the peach top are your actual medication. So let me kind of show you a little bit closer what they look like. So the Menopur looks like this. You'll see peach top and the green writing, and each of these bottles has, you'll see it says there are 75 IU, which means that it has 75 units of the medication in there. So please look on your protocol. If it says 75 IUs or 75 units, then you need 1 vial of powder. If you're someone who needs 150 units, then you're gonna have 2 vials of powder, okay? And then so on and so forth. If you need 225, that means that you would pull out 3 vials, okay? So everybody's dose is different, so please look on your particular treatment calendar to confirm your dose before you start mixing the medications. Once you mix the Menopur, it is good for about 30 minutes. So you really wanna kind of mix this right before you're ready to use it. You don't wanna leave it out for too long. And I'm going to go ahead and also tell you the other tools that you need to draw up the Menopur. So you will have been given usually a syringe as well as a needle. It comes like this. Let me open it. So typically we're giving you a syringe that can hold, you know, anywhere between 2 to 3 ml. 3 ml is the most common. It'll come with already a needle, and this is quite a large needle. It's mostly just to draw up the medication. You do not want to use this to inject yourself. You will have been given in these little packages smaller needles, and so if you look at the package, it will say 27G, which is 27 gauge, which means it's a small needle. I'm going to show it to you. just so you can see how little that is. And I'm gonna uncap it carefully and show you, see how little the needle is. So this will definitely be more comfortable to inject with, okay? So you'll wanna make sure that that's ready as well. And obviously this is an open package because I'm demoing. And so what you wanna do is, I always tell everybody to pop the lid off first. So I popped the lid off everything. So here's my saline. You could just set that down and pop open my Menopur. So you will see that this is my Menopur. Once you pop the lid off, you see how it has the little rubber stop area, and that's where you want to put the needle in. So what I do first, I set these down on my table, and I take my needle. I also have my alcohol swab. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to clean the top of the vial of the saline, because I need to draw up the saline first. And I'll usually just go ahead and clean my Menopur as well, because I know that I'm going to be using it shortly. So I'm going to go ahead and sterilize that, okay? You want to make sure that anytime before you put a needle into anything, just clean it with alcohol swab. It will never be the wrong decision. Always clean, 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 okay? So I would take this needle, and you only need about 1 ml of the fluid. It comes with 2 ml, so you really only need half of the bottle, because we don't want you to have to inject too much volume, but just enough to kind of dissolve the powder. And so what you'll do is you'll take this needle, let me kind of see if the angle I can show you. So you want to put your needle in carefully and just give it a nice push. And then what you will see is, see how I'm keeping my needle right in the fluid? You don't want to put it all the way to the top where you're getting a lot of air, okay? So you're going to start pulling, and then you'll just look at your mark to the point where it says 1 ml. And as you're pulling initially, you're going to feel a little bit of resistance, and that's okay. Just kind of keep pulling, keep that resistance, and then you're done. Sometimes when you're doing that, you might, if it's your first time, you might end up getting some air in the top, and I didn't, but let's say you had like this much air in there. See how that's air? That's not a problem, don't worry. You just kind of gently push it all the way through, and then the air is gone, okay? And then so now you have your saline ready. And just know if you're off by just a teeny bit on the volume, that's okay. That doesn't have to be that precise, but just close to the 1 ml is good, because you're just really interested in dissolving the powder, and that will be more than enough. So then you take your first vial of the powder, and you can see here, see the white? That's the powder, okay? And so what you want to do is you just want to take it. I've already cleaned it before, remember? If you can't remember, clean it again. So then you just put the needle in, and there'll be a little bit of suction. And so sometimes, see how I'm just pushing the fluid in? Okay, and then you just want to make sure, see how that dissolved really quickly? So you just inject your fluid in there. And then you want to take a look at it, turn it towards yourself like I'm doing. And if there's any powder that looks like it's not dissolved, you really could just gently swirl it like this. Okay, you don't want to shake it because you don't want there to be any bubbles. And sometimes, one little thing that I always tell people is like there's suction in these bottles, a little bit of vacuum. So even when you just put the needle in, sometimes it'll suck out a drop or two of fluid, and that may be enough to dissolve your powder. And so it seems like, oh my gosh, was there powder in there or not? Is it empty? It's probably just because the few drops you had already dissolved it. So basically you have it like this. So now you want to pull this out. If this is your injection, then obviously you're only doing 75 units, you want to take this out. So again, always want to turn the bottle over, make sure the needle is within the fluid, not in the air all the way up. You don't want to draw up a bunch of air, and then just pull it. Kind of pull back on your syringe, kind of like how I'm doing. Just pull it, pull it, pull it. And with this, I usually end up getting a little bit of air because I just want to make sure I get every little drop. And to get every little drop, sometimes you're just going to get some air. So take that out. And remember I showed you, there's a little bit of air. And then you can just pull that, kind of push the syringe gently. You don't want to shoot out all the medication and waste it because the medication is costly, so you want to be really careful with it. But you could just push it all the way to the top so that it's just all fluid, okay? Now, if this is all you need, then at that point, you're done. And you would just want to carefully put the cap back. A lot of times I'll have people just put the cap on the table and then put the needle in to just try to hook it on first and then cap it. and I can show you that a little bit later, how I do that. But if this is all the dose that you need, then you would be switching your needle at this point. Your syringe will allow that needle to be twisted off, and then you want to kind of keep the syringe upright, and you take your smaller needle and just twist it on. Make sure that it's twisted on well, because what you don't want to happen is you go to push the syringe. If the needle is not on tightly, then the whole thing just pops off and then you lose all your medications. You have to start over. However, let's just assume that you are someone who needs 2 vials of the powder because you need 150 units. So then you would just keep this needle on. Now this already has the fluid from the first vial you mix. So then you would just take your second vial, and I'm going to show you here, second vial of powder. Put that in, and it just dissolves really quickly. I wish I could have showed you like exactly how fast. And you just want to push the whole thing in, and then again you could gently swirl it. Okay, gently swirl it, and then turn it upside down again, just like we've been doing, and then just pull out all your medication, all the liquid, every last drop if you can. Sometimes you're going to have a tiny little drop left in, and that's okay. The manufacturers kind of accounts for that. You're going to lose maybe a little bit in the bottle, okay? But try to get as much as you can, even if you're pulling out air. All right, so now that that's all done, again, get rid of your air. Sometimes you might squirt out a little bit at the top, and that's okay. Just a little bit is okay. Okay, and then when you tap it like that, you always see it in the movies. It's because that'll make the air bubbles go to the top too and make it easier for you to get all the air out. So then again, carefully recap your needle, and then you want to take it off. I'm having a little trouble there. Remember to twist, and then you take the smaller needle and then twist it on, and that's it. Okay, and now that medication is ready for you to inject. And my little tip about Menopur is that it can be a little bit acidic. So when you first mix it, and if you were to inject it really quickly right at that second, sometimes it can burn a little bit. But if you let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute or so, that will help, and it may not burn as much. But typically Menopur will be the one that burns a little bit more because it has a little bit more volume, and because of that property that it has. So I have been teaching everybody to just mix the Menopur first and just let it sit while you prep your other meds, and that gives it a natural little break to be able to make that maybe a little bit better when you're doing the injection. Okay, so that needle that you finished with, throw it in your sharps container. Okay, and then you're done with it. The vials can be disposed of in regular trash because they're not sharps, so you're okay. So any needle you go ahead and put in to your sharps container. Okay, so that's your Menopur, and then you put the rest of it away. And the next thing you want to do, because you're usually going to be starting with Gonal-F and Menopur, then you're going to take out your Gonal-F. And obviously this is a demo box, so it was already open, but you want to make sure that this seal is not broken. That's one sign to make sure that it's, you know, a brand new box. And then usually when you get your box, it's going to have this plastic seal on it. You want to make sure that that's sealed as well. And in your box, you're going to get powder, a syringe with fluid in it, and then you're going to get all these special needles. Okay, and I'm going to tell you about that. So here's a look at the Gonal-F. This medication in this vial, all the powder in this vial, it says it's supposed to be 450 IUs, but the manufacturer usually gives you some overfill, just some extra. So that means that typically we can get about 600 units or IUs of the Gonal-F out of this one bottle, which is great. It's extra medication. So the goal is to use up every drop of it you can before you open another box. So, you know, it's great to know that we have some extra. This is the pre-filled Gonal-F syringe. And this is great because you don't have to draw up anything. It's already ready. And I'll show you how to mix that just shortly. And then before I do that though, I do want to show you the special needle that the Gonal-F comes with. So usually when you get a syringe and a needle, it's usually by volume. So it has markings on it that tells you, that, for example, on that 3 ml syringe, it had a 0.5 ml marking, 1 ml, 1.5, and 2 ml. Well, this needle is special because the markings on it, I don't know if you can see that. Here you go, you can see 150, 225, there's a 75 up there. 75, 150, 225, 300, it's actually matching to the amount of units you'll be using. So again, look on your protocol or your treatment calendar, and it's going to tell you how much Gonal-f you need. It may be 75, it could be all the way up to 375, so it just depends on your protocol. A pretty common dose is somewhere between 150 to 300 when you're doing an IVF cycle, but that's what the marking is. You do not want to use this needle to draw up your Menopur. I've had patients get confused about that. So please do not do that. Yes, the Menopur is 75 units, but you want to remember that the full vial of powder, 1 vial gives you 75 units. So when you mix it with that 1 ml of fluid, you have to take up the whole 1 ml, all of the liquid, to give you the 75 units. I unfortunately have had patients use this needle to draw up the Menopur and go, oh, I'm giving myself 75 units. And they give themselves this amount, and then they have a whole bottle still left here. That means that they're only getting a tiny part of the 75 units they actually need. So that would not be ideal. So please remember to only use this needle for your Gonal-f, okay? So that's really, really important. So we can open that, set that aside, and then I'm going to teach you how to mix your Gonal-f. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this Gonal-f vial, pop it off, and then just clean it. Okay, clean, clean, clean. And then you're going to take this, pull it open. You'll see that it might drip a little bit, no big deal. Take your powder and then just put the whole thing, and then again, you want to just inject the whole thing in. It goes in a little bit slower because it's a really fine needle, so you just kind of want to shoot that in there. And there it goes. It's mixing up, okay? And that's it, all right? And so this can also dissolve a little quickly, but not as fast as the Menopur, but it can dissolve pretty quickly too. So you see, I didn't even swirl it and it's already clear. So you could just take this needle out and then you're gonna be done with that. Don't try to recap it. Just throw it in your sharps container and then you're done. And then if you see anything, I always inspect it, make sure there's no powder sticking on the side wall. So if it looks like there was a little bit there, I just kind of swirl it a little bit like this and then I'm done. Do not shake, okay, because you'll create bubbles. So then with that, if you're ready, let's say you're gonna be doing 150. So same thing, certainly could clean it again because you're poking it with a needle again. So I always say, clean it, clean it, clean it. Take this, inject it in. And you're not gonna be able to see, this needle is really tiny, so you won't see the needle in the fluid, but it'll be in the rubber plunger. And so then you just wanna draw it up to what you need it. And I need 150 for this protocol. So I'm just drawing it. You see how I'm drawing it to 150? You wanna make sure that stopper is right at the 150 mark, okay? If I wanted 225, I just draw a little bit more, okay? And that's it. Then you're done. And this remaining amount here, you want to go ahead and make sure you put it in the refrigerator, okay? So if you still have more to prep, then you can cap it and leave it. And I always think it's a good idea to kind of get the cap, even if it's not firmly on it, to protect the needle so it doesn't get dirty while you're waiting. You know, you might do your Menopur first. So anyways, here is your Gonal-f and it's ready, and you can set that next to your Menopur. Now, a couple of little important tips about this Gonal-f. So let's say you have a little bit remaining in this vial, but you can't remember or you're not sure how much is still in there. Or maybe you did 300 units and you know that you should have 300 units in there because we think it's 600. But you go to draw it the second day for your second injection and you went to draw up 300 and you only got 225 out of there and you're missing 75 and you're like, I thought I should have total 300. Well, sometimes the overfill is not perfect, so it may not be exactly 600 in there. So all you would do is go ahead and draw up what's remaining of this bottle, and then you would open a whole new box and mix it just like I showed you, and then that one now should have somewhere between 450 to 600 units, right? And then you would just take the syringe that you have, that you drew up the 225 in, and then draw up the 75 that you need to make a total of 300, and then you'll be set, and then leave that one in the refrigerator for the next day. So you really want to get the most out of your Gonal-f that you can, because as you know, fertility medications can be very costly, so we do want to maximize everything that we've got. Okay. So now you've got your Gonal-f and your Menopur ready. And usually you're going to be doing your first injections in the evening, and typically people are doing their shots between 6 to 9 p.m. at night, usually when they get home from work or their day. What you want to remember is that these medications are potent or effective for about a 24-hour period. So you really don't want to go outside of your 24-hour window from the last time you injected it. So let's say you took it at 7 p.m. the night before, then you want to do it around 7 p.m. the next night. Now between probably 6 to 8 is fine. You could do it a little bit before, and you certainly could do it a little bit after, but you don't want to go, too much further than that, and you certainly don't want to miss a 24-hour dose. That would be really, really bad. But I have had patients call me, Dr. Chuan, I didn't do my injection at my usual time. I'm usually doing it at 7 p.m. and I did it at 8:30. I think that's okay. You're within that kind of window of time where I think it's acceptable, and I don't want anybody to panic, but I definitely don't want it to become a habit where you're missing doses or skipping doses or being late all the time. So try to be as consistent as possible. Set an alarm that will help you. It always helps me remember, and pick a time in the day that usually it's not going to be a problem for you. So even though we say it's 6 to 9 p.m. is usually when my patients do it, I do have patients that work evenings and may not get home till 9. Is 9:30 okay? Yes, absolutely, but just try to be consistent with your time, okay? So the Gonal-f and the Menopur are going to be used in the evenings, between 6 to 9, and again, remember, every 24 hours is when the medication is effective, okay? Now we're going to learn how to use Cetrotide, which is a medication we use to prevent premature ovulation. Usually you'll be starting this medication towards the middle of your cycle, once the follicles have gotten large enough that we worry about them prematurely releasing the egg. And so that's usually anywhere between day 5 to day 8, depending on how fast your cycle is going. So your provider will give you instructions on when you should be starting this. This is a medication that needs to be refrigerated. And it can stay in room temperature for a few hours, but typically you want to keep it refrigerated. That's very important. And you want to make sure that you're doing this at the same time every day. So it's good for 24 hours, and you want to try to do it within 15 to 30 minutes of when you did it previously. So if you did it at 10 o'clock in the morning, so typically here we instruct patients to do it in the morning. So if it's 10 a.m. that you did it the day before, then you want to try to do it, right at 10, but no later than 10:30. You certainly could do it a little bit earlier, so you could do it at 9:30, half an hour before. That's fine. I always give that analogy. It's like a car. You don't want it to run out of gasoline, so you can always top off the tank before it runs out, but you don't want to go past that point. So this is the same thing, okay? You want to be really, really good about that. Set an alarm if you need to. On your first day, because we may be giving you the instruction to start it right after your visit, and your visit might not be till 11:30, or sometimes even noon if you're having a late appointment. And so you might do your first shot at around 11:30 or noon the first day. It's okay if you want to move that up a bit so that the next day you're doing it around 10:30, and then just staying on that schedule. So for that adjustment for convenience, but you want to stay within that 24-hour zone as much as you can, okay? So now let's go ahead and teach you how to use this. So when you open up the Cetrotide, again, this is a demo pack, so it's already open, but you want to open it. It'll come in this package that looks like this, okay? And within it, when you open it, and this should be sealed, what you're going to see is you're going to see a pre-filled syringe with fluid already in it. You're going to see another bottle of powder with a blue top on it, just like with the other medications. Usually it's powder form to mix with fluid. And then it's going to come with 2 different syringes. The yellow one is a larger one to draw up the medication with, and then the smaller needle in the gray cap is the one that you want to inject with. So remember that. So let me go ahead and show you how to do this. So you want to just go ahead and take out your powder, take out your syringe, and again, you want to make sure you have an alcohol swab to clean this bottle, okay? Obviously pop it off first, and then clean it, and then you want to set that down on your table, and then you want to prepare the syringe and the needle. So this just pops off like this, and then you want to uncap this. It comes off easily for me because the sticker's been broken before, but you might find that you have to twist kind of hard to get that first cap off because of the sticker. Again, screw that on really tightly to make sure that you don't accidentally lose the needle. Uncap it, and then what you want to do is you take your Cetrotide powder. You see how it's a powder form, and just like everything else that you see, you just want to kind of just put that into the needle, and this one's a little bit harder to push the fluid in, so you might have to push a little harder, okay? And it'll start to dissolve. You'll see it here. This one's a little bit stickier. Sometimes the powder gets stuck on the side, so just kind of gently swirl it and keep pushing your fluid in. All right, and if you need to, like this right now, it's still a little sticky and there's powder on the side, so I just gently swirl it to dissolve it, okay? And so you just want to make sure the whole thing is dissolved before you draw it up to inject. Okay, so swirl, swirl, swirl. It may be that this is a demo pack, so it may have been sitting around a little bit longer, so I think it's taking a little bit for the powder to dissolve. But, so I'm just gently swirling that. Hopefully you're, usually I feel like the actual medication that you get is not going to take this long to dissolve. And so it's dissolved, and so just like I taught you before, you're going to go ahead and turn it over and draw that fluid back into the bottle. From the bottle into the syringe, I'm sorry. And you want to get all of it as much as possible. Right now, I'm stuck with the situation where I think I got some air in it earlier and I got a bunch of air in here. So what you want to do is you just want to push that back up into the bottle. You can push the air because the syringe will only go back so far, right? So if you have too much air in it, you won't be able to get the whole content out. And that's where I was struggling with. So even someone who's been doing this a long time like me can get into trouble. So you want to just kind of tilt your bottle all the way in and get every single drop that you can, okay? And again, if you get a little bit of air, it's okay. I think I was tilting the bottle a little bit too much before. All right, so that's everything. I got every single drop. Okay, so got some air in there. I'm gonna get rid of it. And if you do have a little tiny bit of air, it's not going to be harmful. If you just can't get it out, that's okay, because a little bit of air is okay. You're not injecting into a vein or into an artery, so a little bit of air is into the skin. It's totally tolerable. Just a tiny little drop, you're going to see that sometimes, okay? So I don't want you to be nervous about that. So then once you have all of your medication, you will have to, unfortunately, cap this back on, twist this off, and you're going to get rid of this needle. Put it into your sharps container, and then you're going to want to switch to your little needle for your injection. Okay, so then now that's ready to be injected, and then of course you will want to, you can set that down and prepare your injection site by cleaning and wiping, and then you will get your needle ready, and you want to pull back the skin and keep it taut, but squeeze the flesh, and then go all the way in and inject, okay? And then you're done with the Cetrotide. So the last injection that you will be doing during your egg donation cycle is you're going to be doing your trigger shot, okay? And this is probably next to Cetrotide, the most important shot that you're going to do throughout the whole journey. Obviously, everything is important, but without this last trigger shot, we call it, the eggs will not finish maturing. And even if we were to go and do the retrieval, we would not be able to retrieve any eggs. So it's very, very important that you do this and you do it at the right time. So typically what will happen is these medications are timed very specifically to your egg retrieval timing. So when the provider calls you, they're going to tell you very specific time that you're supposed to be doing these injections. Usually it's going to be in the evening or late at night. So please set an alarm clock too if you have to, because unfortunately I have had people sleep, oversleep their alarm if they only set one, especially if it's pretty late at night. So we will be telling you a specific time. So let's say it's Monday night that you're doing the injection, then that means that your retrieval is going to be Wednesday morning, and they'll also tell you that time. So you want to come to the clinic an hour before your scheduled procedure so that we can get you ready. But during the doing the shot at night, timing is everything. If something were to happen where you missed your alarm or you were late, please contact us. Call us at the center. If you call the main line at 858-794-6363, that will page through to a provider, even if it's in the middle of the night, if you have an emergency. So please call us so that we can help you. If you've missed your dose and you're not sure what you should do next, call us, and then that way that'll give us an opportunity to adjust any timing that we need and help you. Okay, so don't panic if that were to happen, but definitely call us. Hopefully everything will go smoothly, but just wanted to share some of those tips in case something does happen. So typically there's two types of medication you may be getting to do for your trigger shot. The most common is that you're just going to be doing one type, which is called Leuprolide or the Lupron trigger. So it's a pure Lupron trigger where all you're getting is the Lupron. Leuprolide is just a medical term for it, and what you'll see on the label is Leuprolide trigger 5 milligrams per ml. And so usually the clinic will be dispensing this to you at your visit and letting you know that you're close to getting triggered. Please, when you get this home, put it in the refrigerator. The Leuprolide will always come with a red cap. It'll be in a bag where it's labeled and everything, but just wanted to give you that tip that we like to color code everything. So the red top is the Lupron trigger. Many of our egg donors need just the Lupron trigger, and that makes it really simple. However, there are circumstances in which your doctor may feel that you need to add another medication, and this is HCG. So in that case, you would be doing Lupron and HCG, and the HCG is always blue capped, and you'll see it labeled here. It says HCG trigger 1000 IU, and that's the dose. It's a very small dose. Traditionally, HCG is used in higher doses when we're using it in other ways, but as an egg donor, you would only need a very small amount of it, so we pre-load this with just a small amount that you need. Sometimes you might be given both of these at the same time and given instructions that we're not sure exactly which one you're going to need yet, if you're going to need just the Lupron only, or if you'll need both of them together. So they might give you both. But when they give you the instructions that evening about trigger, then they will clarify if you're going to be using both injections and doing a Lupron HCG trigger, or if you're going to be doing the pure Lupron only. You will never be given instructions to do just the HCG. So don't ever use this by itself, because it will not be enough medication to help mature the eggs, and we will not get a good yield on the egg retrievals. So always it's going to be either the Lupron alone or the Lupron plus the HCG. Okay, so this is really easy because you don't have to mix anything. Everything is pre-done for you already. All you basically have to do is get it home, put it in the refrigerator until you need it, and then what you would do is just uncap this. Okay, and then you would take one of your small syringes right here, the 27 gauge, 27G, put it on, and then you would find the area that you're going to do the injections, same place in the abdomen that you've been doing your other injections daily. Again, use the alcohol swab to clean the area, pull back the skin, obviously uncap this, and then in you go, inject it, and you're done. If you do need to do both, then you would repeat with this one as well, using the small needle, the 27 gauge, to do the second injection, okay? And once you do that, you're done. And the next day, you have 1 day where you don't have to do any injections until you get to your egg retrieval. And then that's it. That's the end of all of your injections. Occasionally, there will be times when after your retrieval, we have some donors who may be instructed to do a few more days of the Cetrotide, especially if they have a very robust response to help their ovaries shrink down a little bit faster, but that's not the majority of patients. So for all intended purposes, once you do your HCG and your Lupron shot or just the Lupron alone, you'll be done with all the injections for the cycle, and we'll just be waiting for your egg retrieval. And so thank you so much for watching the video. I hope that this was helpful in your learning how to do injections and making you feel more comfortable and confident about doing injections. We're always here. If you have any questions or any concerns, please let us know. Always remember to double check on your inventory of medications before you come for your appointment. That's really important that you know what you have, so that if you're running out of meds, that you let us know, so that you're not left in the evening going to do medications without enough to get you through that evening. So please, we will usually check in with you, but it's really good that if you know kind of what you have on hand, so that we can give you whatever it is you need to make life easier and make this go smoothly, okay? Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you soon at the center.